nice, Baruch Hashem. Thank you. Okay, there you go.
May Rabbi Furst, Pierke, Avos.
Right. Good morning again. This is Rabbi Shmuel Furst, as Lou said. Here in Yeshiva Samadash, here in Shrine Care Zoom. Our first year in the morning, Pirkei Avos, learning the fifth parak. Kol ha'ava toli b'davar batal ha'davar. Kol ha'ava she'enet toli b'davar batal ha'davar batal ha'ava. Okay. And we're about to do a review of paragraph 28.
Okay. How about until somebody else comes, we talk about women?
Okay. Sure, if you like. That's no problem. I started to look at that the Magen Avraham you sent me. I didn't have a chance to focus in on it. There was a long piece. He mentioned it in one particular point. So unless you have any comments on that, particularly, I'm not really prepared to discuss that because I didn't see it in full. But yeah, go ahead. What have you found there?
Yeah, I don't have any particular comments on that, except to read you the footnote. It's not very long.
Okay, sure.
It just says the footnote is on the phrase Nashim da tan kala alehen. They translate it as the minds of women are easily swayed. And the footnote says literally, women's minds are light upon them. See Magen Avraham at the end of Orach Chaim, 156.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that Magen Avraham is going to give some kind of a definition. And I thought that might be interesting to see.
Right.
But anyway, Meir is here, so I guess we can go back to our topic. Morning, Meir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Meir. How are you today?
Baruch Hashem, Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach indeed. Okay.
All right, so chapter 28?
Yes, right. Paragraph 28, correct.
Okay. All right, if I read, Meir?
No, go ahead, please.
Thank you. V'yesh lomar od hi perush me ahavas nashim ki ahavas ish leisha mipnei shehem lebasar echad kedikasiv pra reshis vahayu libasar echad. So there is to say further, since the explanation of the love for women is that the love of a man for a woman is because of the idea that they are one flesh, as it says in Bereshis, and they will be one flesh. Ve'ein ha'ava v'hach vor v'hachibur bima shehem לבשר אחד. כל כך גדול כמו אהבס החברים שנפשו כשורה כשרה or keshura benafsho. So and it's not a love that that his connection with there being one flesh so much
כל כך גדול, meaning, ואין אהבה וחביר במשהו בבשר אחד כל כך גדול כמו אהבת חברי, meaning the ava and the connection that comes from them, the husband and the wife being basar echad, it's not kol kach gadol, it's not so great kamo as the avis kaverim, as that love which exists between friends. Shenavsho kashur banafsho, that one person's being is connected to the other person's being.
okay. So the love of a man or woman that's based on being one flesh is not as great as the love between friends that's based on the spiritual connection.
Right, because see, let's go from madrega to madrega. Let's say you have, as we saw, you have a relationship which is based on something. Meaning, let's say a person's friends with a person because he's rich, he's powerful, right? Maybe he tells good jokes. Maybe he buys him beers in the saloon. So he makes his friendship with this person because he gets something from this person, right?
Right.
So it makes an association, it makes a friendship with the person. And they could be very good friends, right? They can be very good friends. And sometimes even if the person loses his money, the person may like the person so well that they'll still be his friend even without the money, which was perhaps the real reason he was attracted to this person, other than why was he attracted to this person rather than somebody else? He had money, right? So he likes being around people who have money because sometimes, he gets a free beer in the saloon because this guy's got more money than him. So when he runs out of money, the guy's a rich man, he'll buy him a beer. He likes his company.
Right.
So sometimes even if the person loses money, he'll like him enough that he'll still maintain his relationship. But in most cases, that probably won't be the case. Let's take the classical case of a man and a woman, a husband and a wife. Right? There's a necessity, as we spoke about, that the husband should feel attracted to the wife, and there should be an attraction between the two of them. If there's not an attraction between the two of them, it's not going to be, the marriage is not going to last very long. That's not why people get married. People get married because first and foremost, they are attracted to each other. Sometimes there are other factors. She happens to be rich, he's rich, whatever. A lot of other factors why people would marry this particular person than somebody else. Okay? As I mentioned, the decision to get married is probably one of the most selfish based decisions that a person is going to make in their life. People get married and they use as the many times people, when they're getting married, when they're thinking about marrying a person, they're thinking almost exclusively, right, what is the advantage for me in getting married to this person, right? I think that's a valid statement to say that most people, when they're contemplating getting married to someone, the majority of their thoughts in terms of the decision being made are revolving about as to what is this person I'm thinking about getting married, what is this person going to be able to do for me, right?
Right.
So that's a very serious selfish consideration, and that's probably a good thing, and that's probably what you have to do, right? Unfortunately, most people don't move on to the next stage. Once you've now made a decision that this is a person that you selfishly want to marry, right? So now you, in terms of when the marriage actually begins, now the perspective that a person's obligated to have is that what am I able to do for this other person? It's not what this person's doing. I married this person based on what I thought and imagined and expected that they're going to do for me. But now that I'm married to them, my obligation is now to meet their needs, right? So that's kind of like a little paradoxical situation when that doesn't exist in other relationships, so to speak. But that's the normal situation, and that's based upon this pasuk of basar echad, meaning the Torah's intention, the Kadosh Baruch's intention, is that man and women should get married in order that it should be basar echad, because that's going to bring forth children to the world, which is the primary reason why people are going to get married together, right? So therefore, that reason why people are getting married is not as strong. It's not as an altruistic reason as, say, friendships, which are simply based on the person, not in terms of what the person can actually do for the other person, but in terms of the essential love that they have for that person based on what that person is in essence, which is approaching the love of Jonathan for David. Okay, continue.
Iza ma shenifashim keshura zeh b'zeh hu bivadai yoter mima shehem the basar echad. Because this is what the connection of the soul, this one to this one, is certainly more than what they have if they're one flesh.
Right. See, basically, what he's saying is, there's no doubt that when people are going to be associated with each other because of the friendship and the love that they have because of a spiritual connection, that's much stronger than the physical connection of basar echad.
Okay. He ein shaykh the basar achados
Achdus.
ukesher ukeshur kamo shehu shaykh v'nafshos shehem miskai sharim legamre v'zeh nir. Because it's not possible that the flesh that the achdus, that the friendship is based on flesh, and the kesher is like that which is possible with the soul connection, that they are bound completely, it seems.
And like this is apparent. This is like obvious. This is obvious. Meaning the potentials that exist between the connection of people's inner beings, their neshamas, their souls, is much greater. The potentials are much greater than simply the potentials that exist because of the union of the flesh, the potentials that exist in the basar echad. I mean, in a certain way, when you from this perspective, right, the connection of the relationship of a husband to a wife to a husband, because of the basis of the relationship of Basar Echad. So that is the foundation of the marriage. But obviously, or the marriage in the ideal sense is much more than the simple Basar Echad. And not only that, the fact of the Basar Echad, the fact that they're going to bring children into the world, like that potential of bringing children into the world also creates many more potentials of association and commitment and cooperation that in some ways also is greater than the friendship, that the connections and the potentials that could exist because of friendship. When people have children, I don't have to tell you, that raising children is a job that takes two parents, and the cooperation of the parents, the commitment of the parents, and the development of years and years of association and agreement and commitment, cooperation, right? So obviously, even though the basis of the marriage relationship could be this concept of Basar Echad, but that itself is going to create many more potentials and requirements and commitments and cooperations that are not always so pronounced when you simply have friendships. Okay.
So in this, we're assuming that the marriage relationship is being used as an example of a relationship that's only based on Basar Echad.
Well, since the Torah itself is telling us that is the goal of the marriage relationship. The goal of the marriage relationship should be Basar Echad, right? And because that's the intention of the Torah, that people should marry and have children in order to bring new life into this world, right? And with that, so the relationship is based upon that, because that's the goal, that's the purpose of the relationship, right?
True, but as you pointed out a minute ago, when you're getting married, so that's your primary focus. Is this woman going to be a good wife, a good mother? Can we become one flesh together and have children and have a bias on Israel? But once you get married, then something else comes into play, which is, as you pointed out, that the obligation to put her first and to try and make the relationship more than just the Basar Echad, to make it a nefesh b'nefesh relationship. Right. So I presume that this is not talking about that. In other words, that's possible, but for this discussion, it's assuming that you don't have that.
Well, because the point that needs to be discussed is that many times, unfortunately, it's not brought to the higher levels. Meaning the basis of the marriage is Basar Echad. That's the whole purpose, and that's the basis of the marriage. But right. that's only enabling them to now, like to go further, right?
Right. But they can go further.
It definitely can. Yeah, it's by no means should not be limited to that. That's by all means it should not be limited to that. Right. Unfortunately, though, sometimes people simply they're not trained, they're not taught, they're not educated well enough to understand the true potentials of what their marriage is supposed to achieve.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay.
Ve'ein lecha lahakshos lema hotzarcha hatana levaer davar ze uma lemadnu mizeh. Okay, so this is new ground.
Right. This is a new point now.
So it's not for you to sanctify.
No, that would be with a dalid, lahakadosh. That would be lahakshos from kasha. Lahakshos. It's not for you to ask. I mean, the question doesn't really begin.
Why is it necessary? What is this word? Hisna?
No, hatana, meaning the Tana of the Mishnah, the Tana who's the statement that in this Mishnah that's made by a Tana under the Tanoim. So what is not for you to ask what was the necessity of the Tana Levara Davrazet to explain this thing.
To explain this thing.
Meaning?
Lamadnu mizeh. What is lamadnu? To teach from this? What did the Tana need to teach from this?
Yeah, and ma lamadnu, and what the nun vav? What do we learn from this? What do we learn from this? Ma lamadnu is that, and what do we learn from this?
What was the necessity for the Tana to teach this, and what do we learn from this?
Meaning you could ask. I mean, again, the Tana is teaching us kol ava toli b'davar batla davar batla ava kol ava shein toli b'davar ein batla oilam. So you might think perhaps this is a very obvious statement, and really what's the insight that we're supposed to learn from this?
Right. He kavar amarnu shehatana ba le ashmoinan kama gadol meolas ha'achdus shehu ba'olam. Since we already said since the Tana already said in it lahashmoina, what is that?
To teach it, lishmoina, to teach us.
To teach us how great is the meter of friendship.
Milas ha'achdus, shu ba'olam. Achdus is like they would translate that like unity. Achdus is unity, or unity. So let's 1 second. Let's see what his question is. What's the Tana? What's the necessity to teach this, and what do we learn from this? Ki kavar amarnu she'atana malash meinin kama golo malas achdus shu ba'olam. I mean, we've already been taught. He said we've already been taught about the the great milas, the great advantage. Mila is a great advantage. Kama Godel Milas, how great the advantage is of Achdus, of unity, in Ba'olam, in the world.
Okay, so we've already been taught that unity is so great. Okay. Ukamo she no machlokas hamachlochis
Right. Good.
shehi hafech ha'achdus kach ahuv ha'achdus v'hi ahava she'ena taluye davar bidavar. So and it's like what is this she noah?
That
Oh, Sanua. It's like that hatred.
yeah, right. Right, Sina, right, from the word Sina, right.
The hatred that comes from machlokas, from arguments, that it is what's hafech?
Hafik, right, is the opposite Achdus. It's the opposite of unity.
It's the opposite of unity. Thus, love unifies, and it is a love that is not dependent on something.
Oh, so one second here. So the question is, meaning you shouldn't be asking like what was the Tana coming to teach us and what's the insight we're supposed to learn from this, right? And what's the basis of the statement that you shouldn't be asking? Because first of all, it seems to be a little bit unnecessary. Ki kavar aman, we've already said previously, Tana Balashmin. We've already said that the Tana is coming to teach us the great virtue of unity, which should exist in the world, and as similarly as the hatred, which is a coming from a machlokus, that's the opposite of achdus. Kach, likewise, oev achdus, the love of unity, meaning the love of achdus, if meaning the love of achdus is avashena toli bedavar, meaning a person if he's loving somebody because of the fact that by loving this person you join together with the other person or other people, right? And that's an achdus, that's a unity, right? So the fact that you're loving other people because that's going to be because you have a love for unity, because that's something which is there are tremendous virtues in unity, right? And since you know and appreciate and value the advantages and the virtues of unity, so if you love unity, you're joining together with other people for the sake of the fact that you're joining together with them. And that's an ava which is not totally bedavar. That's an ava which is not totally bedavar.
Right.
Also, if that's the case, if that's the case, right? So you might have the question. I mean, if we know that already, right? If let's say we don't really know that already, we just learned it now. But let's say if you really know that already, so then you might have a question. Well, what's our Tana now coming to teach us? Because we really know this already.
We already know that love based on unity is a love that's not dependent on a thing.
Right. Because that unity, the desire for unity and the love that's going to exist because of that desire for unity is a love which is Eino Toli B'Davar.
Right. So therefore, we're going to ask, Yesh Lomar, there is to say, what is this Gimel Kaf?
Gam Kain also.
There is to say also, since that which is stated, all love that is not dependent on a thing does not become nullified in the world.
Right.
That's not really a question. That's a statement.
Well, right, because Yesh Shlom is already beginning. He's answering the question. Meaning, again,
But what was the question that we were going to ask? We said that we established that a love that's based on unity is not dependent on a thing, and then we said, therefore, you might ask, what might you ask?
no. So it's really what you shouldn't be. It's really what you shouldn't be asking. Meaning, if we already know that the unity, which is based on a ava, means let's say the relationship was based on an ava, simply for the sake of the unity which exists, right? So then you should have you shouldn't have the question, what is our Tana coming to teach us over here? Meaning, you might think that what our Mishnah here is saying, that Ava, which is totally B'Davar, is Batal B'Davar, Batal Ava Shtein is totally B'Davar, and a Batal B'Davar Olam, that you might think that this is something which is unnecessary to be taught. But he's saying, no, there is something that needs to be taught over here, and he's approaching the question based on what you would have, what gave you a right to think you should ask that question, right? So he's in the middle of explaining what's giving you a right to ask that question.
What's that question? What do you mean that question? What question?
The question is, what's the Kiddush in this Mishnah?
That's the question. What's the Chiddush?
Basically, in not so many words, basically.
Right, because we already know the lesson that seems to come out of it. So the question is, why is it telling us something we already know? Is that right?
Yeah, more or less. That's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. But then when it says V'yesh Lomar, it just restates something that we already know.
Oh no, so Yesh Lom is an answer now. Yesh Lomer, like Gam Kain, we can also, there is to answer and say that Gam Kain also. Ki ma sha'omer kolave she'ena tali b'davar ena batul, right? We can also say that all ava which is not tali b'davar is not going to be batul. So that what's that coming to teach us? That you jump down to paragraph number 29.
Ba lehodia tikvas uvatachon Yisrael bigalos. It comes to inform us what's tikos?
Tikvos, from the hope and the faith of Yisrael Begullus, of the Jews in exile.
The hope and the faith of the Jews in exile. It comes to inform us of the hope and the faith of the Jews in exile.
Right. So now the morale is making a quantum jump over here. You thought we were talking about friendships, marriages, and all that kind of thing, right? But now he's making a quantum jump over here.
He's saying it's not. It's talking about the relationship between Yisrael and Hashem.
Well, let's see how he develops it. Good. Go ahead. Let's see. Yeah. We'll see how he develops it exactly. Good.
She'ef shar hey ha'ava v'tela le'olam. That it's impossible that it should be that love is nullified in the world.
Right. Well, in this case, Ola means ever, meaning it's impossible that Ava should ever be dissipate or be nullified ever.
Shaharei ha'ahava. What is this abbreviation?
Hashem is Barach.
Okay, so behold, the love of Hashem, Ahav Yisrael, that he loves Israel, lo haisa talui b'davar. It's not dependent on a thing, klal at all.
Right. Now this is a tremendous yesod. There's a lot of discussion, especially when in terms of Hanukkah, that there is a strong perspective in terms of what the Greeks were trying to do and prove with the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, that the Greeks believed that the connection that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had with Klal Yisrael was based on the Beis Hamikdash, based on the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash, the korbanos, right? And Klal Yisrael keeping mitzvahs, and so therefore they wanted to take over the Beis Hamikdash. They wanted to take away from us our mitzvahs, because their philosophy was that if you take away these external trappings of Yiddishkeit, that will sever the relationship between Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Klal Yisrael. So that's why they were trying to make gezeres. That's why they tried to take over the Beis Hamikdash. That's why they wanted to stop the avoda in the Beis Hamikdash, right? That's why they defiled all the oils in the Beis Hamikdash and everything else they found there, because they understood from their point of view that this was the connection which existed between Klal Yisrael and Kadosh Baruch Hu. And you break that, and you'll break the connection. But that's not the case. That's what we're learning, and we know better that that's not the case here, because here, as it's being said here, Shari Avos Hashem is Baruch Oiv Yisrael Lo Haisa Talui B'Davar Klal. That the love that Hashem has, his love for Yisrael, is not at all dependent on anything.
But I don't think it goes the other way.
What do you mean?
The love that a Jew has for Hashem is dependent on something.
I don't think so, but let me hear what you have to say. I don't think so, but let me hear what you have to say.
Well, what I learned about Hanukkah was that the philosophy of the Greeks was that if they could break the connection that a Jew has for Hashem, that Jew will become a Greek. He'll assimilate. So they wanted to stop us from doing the mitzvahs and doing participating in the various rituals, so that we would lose our connection with Hashem.
Right. Well, okay. So that's from the perspective of Klal Yisrael to Hashem is Baruch. But now we're simply discussing the relationship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Klal Yisrael. That relationship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Klal Yisrael is not an avet totally b'davar, right?
So you're saying the Greeks were thinking it in both ways.
Well, possibly. I'm not sure. We'll have to see what we can say about the other way. They were clearly trying to interrupt the relationship between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael by taking away our mitzvahs. That their understanding was that Hashem loves us for the mitzvahs that we do.
Right.
But that's not the case. It's definitely part of the relationship, but that's not the basis of the Ava. You have a right. You have a right to ask. Well, what is the basis of Hashem's love for Klal Yisrael? But we'll have to see what that. We'll have to see if they get an explanation about that. We'll have to see.
Right. Right. My mind is turning. Trying to put this into the story. Okay.
Okay.
Weiter?
Yeah.
What are we done for today?
Let's see. It's 10:45. Maybe it's a good point to stop. I tell you the truth. Maybe we'll review paragraph 29 tomorrow as well.
Yeah, good
We'll start
idea.
at the beginning. Okay, very good. We'll go. So that'll give you time to settle your brains, Lou.
Yeah, this is very thought provoking.
Okay, very good. Very good. I hope so. Very good. That's definitely what we're after.
All right.
Fine.
See you in a
Okay,
few minutes.
we'll take a short break and we'll come back